Theo Nagat, Dakwadoa, Cara Cowan Watts. Hello, everyone. This is Cara Cowan Watts here with Cherokee 411 correspondent Katie Punnett. This is not one of our normal stories. It unfortunately will become one of our normal stories, but Katie was great enough to go out and cover the story of Erik Lane, one of our Cherokee Nation citizens who unfortunately lost his life in Tahlequah. And she's here to tell us about the process she went through to try to assist the family and find out the details of Erik's life and unfortunately the end of his life. I think those stories are still pending. There's more to come, but let's hear from Katie. Katie, tell us what you found out when investigating the disappearance of Erik Lane, Cherokee Nation citizen.
Well, I found out, I found out a lot of harsh realities that I thought I was prepared for, but I really wasn't. The tribal sovereignty issue or jurisdiction issue is obviously huge. But I have a different, I don't know how to say this. I wouldn't say I have a different perspective on jurisdiction because I don't. I think Cherokee Nation should have jurisdiction over Tahlequah. And I do think Cherokee Nation should be leading these investigations. But what I did find is that the detective who is doing all the investigating, because Tahlequah Police has jurisdiction here in Tahlequah, is that he really is working hard to try to track this down. And it's a very complicated case, especially when you deal with unhoused populations. And then you add to it, there is a large portion of the local Tahlequah community, unhoused community, that is on meth. He has gotten, and the family has gotten, everybody's gotten a ton of leads. And I myself have followed up some of them, and I talk about it in the piece, but the crazy tangle that is trying to sift through evidence when meth is involved is so difficult. Erik himself was not a meth head. He had other addiction issues. But I think it's just, it really opened my eyes. It really broke my heart. What I found out is
So,
that,
Katie, sorry, I know he left behind a wife and children. Is that correct?
yes, he had a wife.
So,
He had a wife that they were high school sweethearts, and they had 4 kids together through the years. And he just fell on some hard times. And with not much safety net, he ended up on the streets. He was still working, doing tree work. You know, he was actually known to be not well liked among the other homeless people because he would say something if he saw something wrong. He had a very strong moral compass. So to know all of this, I think when I was speaking with the police officer, there was a lot. Obviously, he can't tell me because it is a very active, ongoing homicide investigation, and that's what they are considering it. That he is, I don't even know how to really put this like correctly, but he is following up on so many leads, and he's getting sent on a lot of wild goose chases. And it sounds like, reading between the lines, and just from what I experienced looking at his wife's text messages and other things, is that there have been tons of false leads. There have been tons of weird, random things that he has chased down, even out of state. He's been really working hard to follow this through. But when you have a small amount of meth heads working against you, I mean, he didn't say this, but reading between the lines, this is what I'm getting, is that they are mucking up all the works. They're sending him in places. They're messing it with evidence. I talk in the piece about the shed Erik was living in. It's behind a very well-known business on Downing, which I will not name because I don't want people going over there and whatnot. But I mean, he was squatting in that shed pretty much in plain sight of the whole world. And if he had met his end at that shed, he would have been carried from there down to Hastings in public view on Downing, or his stuff was all carried down to the river and left down by the river in public.
So Katie, I know because this is so emotional, and I want them to watch your prepared piece. So the introduction for today to let them know what is going on. So this will be a first for our listeners and our readers. So we will be covering murdered missing Cherokee people. Katie is going to help me do that. The issue is becoming so big, we may have to enlist other people. Katie and I will work with my partner, Deb Reed, to determine that. We're going to create a database, basically a community-based database for murdered missing Cherokee people since the 1800s. We ourselves are trying to report on these issues and document the victims and their families and make sure that these Cherokee people are remembered. And we do have an Adair County murder case all the way back in the 1800s that's already that we're already investigating and working on and talking to the family members who survived that are descendants today about. But I think the important thing about Erik Lane's case is that folks need to know that these Cherokee Nation citizens, there was no alert put out. There was no coverage by the Cherokee Nation.
None.
Um, she's going to report on that so that we know what the real status is in terms of whether it's Cherokee Nation, United Kituah Band, or Eastern Band of Cherokee Indians. We're going to talk about where we're at in terms of law enforcement inside our communities and how our people are remembered, how our people are looked after. Um, do our own people make a point of trying to find out where we're at and what's happening when our family members say that there is an issue and somebody has gone missing? So Katie, I know there's a lot more to come in the report that you've prepared. You're going to continue investigating it and reporting to us about Erik Lane's case and his family and who Erik Lane was as a person. And we're going to be covering on Cherokee 411 issues of homelessness in the Cherokee Nation and United Kituah Band. We haven't located anything about the Eastern Band yet, but if somebody's wanting to report on that, just let us know. Katie, thank you again for bringing this issue forward, and especially Erik, and remembering Erik Lane and his family and such. Is there anything else you want to add before we send them on your initial report and let them view that and listen in?
One thing I do want to say is that I've actually had some people tell me, and this is not Erik's family. I've talked to Erik's family and heard from a lot of them, but
Okay.
I've had some Cherokee Nation citizens say to me that it's disrespectful to mention that Cherokee Nation hasn't advocated or announced or acknowledged Erik, that it's disrespectful of Erik for me to mention this. I think it's crucial that people know that his name is not being said. There has been no mention of him. And I think at the very least, I would like to think that our community can come up with a better way to respond in the future. That's my hope, that once we find out somebody's missing, and even if the tribe doesn't tell us they're Cherokee, if we know they're Cherokee, we can start understanding the importance of moving quickly, because somebody was missing in the EDCI and everybody motivated. They mobilized the tribe, put up flyers, they organized a search, and that man was found alive. I think time is the important thing, and I think it's important to say that it's not disrespectful to advocate for these victims and their families, because their families are Cherokee families and they are struggling and suffering with this. And I want us all to say Erik's name. He was an amazing individual. I feel like I got to know him, and I'm honored to be telling his story.
I agree, Katie. Everyone, wait and listen in. These are serious issues. It could be any one of us. And we are honored that these families have trusted us to start telling these stories. Katie, um, thank you for what you've done. And until we see each of you again, thank you for listening in to Cherokee 411. What up?
Join the conversation. Discover stories and insights that matter to you. Subscribe to Cherokee 411 with Cara and stay connected with independent media, real, relevant, and unfiltered.